perhaps considered the first of the Lovecraft film adaptations to really capture the tone of the literature itself was Daniel Haller's 1970 picture, The Dunwich Horror. This is essentially the production follow-up, more or less, to Die Monster Die. Haller returns as director. We have the same production company. What we have is a film which non-Lovecraft fans have gone into and felt that the performances are poor, they didn't find it engaging, there are some trippy scenes, but they weren't that interested in overall, and one which Lovecraft fans come at and think, in spite of this film's problems, this is almost as accurate as an adaptation of Lovecraft on film has yet been, or at least was in the 20th century, let's say. I know some people like the Stuart Gordon films. I absolutely love those Stuart Gordon films, but I think the tone of those might be a bit contentious to the hardcore Lovecraft devotees. Perhaps. I remember thinking of the Dunwich Horror, but it didn't seem like a film I could sit down with just anyone and expect them to appreciate it. Dean Stockwell, love him or hate him, his performance might be considered very wooden. I like his performance because it reminds me of this old Hollywood, or the old way of film acting where you would just kind of occupy your character of charisma as though you were John Wayne or something. You didn't try to be a great thespian or anything. You were just using pure charisma or pseudo-charisma to kind of conjure this character into existence, and without it being kind of a realistic pathos, let's say. And I think that's clearly what Dean Stockwell's doing here. It's a more sinister, or, well, at least more weird fiction-oriented take on Dean Stockwell's character he portrayed in 1965's Rapture. I don't know if any of you've seen that. That's kind of an interesting film, actually. I imagine David Lynch saw that at some point in his life. I'd like to read out some of the context for Lovecraft's literary inspirations when writing Dunwich Horror. I felt this was a rather interesting passage uploaded to the Wikipedias. Lovecraft's main literary sources for Dunwich Horror are the stories of Welsh horror writer Arthur Machen, particularly the great god Pan, mentioned in the text of the Dunwich Horror, and the novel of the Black Seal. Both Machen's stories concern individuals whose death throes reveal them to be only half human in their parentage. According to Robert M. Price, the Dunwich Horror is in every sense an homage to Machen and even a pastiche. There is little in Lovecraft's story that does not come directly out of Machen's fiction. As one example similarity, both Wilbur and Helen are the child of an invisible god and a human female, and both of them after dying quickly turned into black liquid. Another source that has been suggested is The Thing in the Woods by Marjorie Williams, which is also about two brothers living in the woods, neither of them quite human and one of them less human than the other. We've got to be careful when attributing older literary sources as having that we uncover now as having influenced major canon texts, not because they might not have, not because it's not worth talking about, but like sometimes I'll be reading about Huxley's Brave New World, and there will be these claims, there was this Polish novel from 1929 which Huxley totally ripped off, and it's like, well, okay, let's slow down a little bit and find out if the novel was even published in English. I'm not saying Huxley couldn't read Polish; he was a brilliant guy, but let's be realistic. Would he have read that novel? That's like there are claims that Huxley would have known. There's that lady who wrote the novel. There's a novel by some lady who they think could have influenced Brave New World, and it's at least established that Huxley knew this person. So it's like, okay, maybe, or they at least had similar ideas, then talked about them in real life, so it's possible they could have had similar ideas in their novels, in any case. Anyway. It's just edgy nonsense. The edginess needs to stop with, by the time we're 10 years past the 2010s, I like to think we'd be like, yeah, edginess needs to stop. We need to stop being edgy and just start, treating discussions of things like we're discussing what food and drink taste like in our mouths, The name Dunwich itself may come from Machen's The Terror, where the name refers to an English town where the titular entity is seen hovering as a black cloud with sparks of fire in it. Lovecraft also takes Wilbur Whateley's occult terms Accio and Vurish from Machen's The White People. Lovecraft also seems to have found inspiration in Anthony M. Rod's story Ooze, published in Weird Tales, March 1923, which also involved a monster being secretly kept and fed in a house that it subsequently bursts out of and destroys. Yeah, it's possible. Lovecraft read and wrote for Weird Tales. The Shakespeare Wilbur's brother recalled this scene in Algernon Blackwood's The Wendigo, one of Lovecraft's favourite horror stories. Ambrose Bierce's story, The Damned Thing, also involves a monster invisible to human eyes.